What's up, guys? It's Monaco here, and in this video I want to talk to you about supports and multiplayer. This is going to be a support guide. Again, this is going to be two portions simply because there's so much to cover. The first portion is going to cover ability cards and abilities and deck setups. The second portion is going to cover the gameplay and actual fighting in the boss. So let's get on with the first portion. Let's get into some of these deck ideas. Now, here's what I consider optimal decks right now. This is an idea that I have that I'm going to test here very soon, probably within the next couple of days. But I feel like this could be a very, very strong setup for a support. It could be considered one of the main setups to bring. This is a very high-paced, high-power, very fast tempo style of playing support, guys. So this is built primarily for fast-paced parties that want to finish the fight as soon as possible. What you have here is you have Moogle. For obvious reasons, you need the faith buff. Moogle is a requirement, okay? Like, you have to have the faith buff as a support right now. It just does way too much for your party in terms of increasing the efficiency of the party and decreasing the number of actions required to break orange bars and kill the guardians. And as a result, faith is just way too powerful and way too strong not to bring. I really feel like the faith buff in general should be used. Now, I'm going to make the argument for Moogle over Aerith and Tifa in just a minute, but for right now, we'll just say that the faith buff is absolutely 100% required. The rest of these are all optional picks. The reason I have the curse card here, I realize this is an early release card. Not everybody might have access to it. But the curse card is here because it acts in replacement of Fat Chocobo without having to have the hard orb requirement. And since it has instant cast, it doesn't weigh down on your actions. So you can burn earth orbs and save your actions at the same time while applying a very good effect for the party. Certain bosses are going to be immune to curse, so you got to kind of watch out for that. And if they are, then this setup, you could probably just replace Fat Chocobo in this setup and make it work. And then it'll just be kind of a standard setup, I guess. Berserk is there for the break turn to increase the damage of the party and to finish the fight, just as kind of like a finisher. And then your single target card for obvious reasons. And then I'm going to go over a much more standard setup. This is the setup that I use the most in multiplayer. I realize that a lot of people don't have access to Heartful Egg. You could replace Heartful Egg with Comet, a debuff of some sort, or a single target spell, depending on what you feel like the party needs. A single target spell is probably going to be your most efficient option for general use, but for more specific uses, you bring a debuff of some sort in that slot. You have Fat Chocobo, Berserk, and Moogle. Again, I explained the reasoning behind Moogle and Berserk already. Fat Chocobo is just kind of like a flex slot, and it's good to have in case your party needs it. If you wind up in a party that has a lot of low hit point jobs and things and things that have problems with survivability, then you cast Fat Chocobo first. If you're in a more high tempo party that's a lot more durable, then you cast Moogle first, and then you cast Berserk during the break turn. And usually by then the fight's over. Very rarely are you ever going to cast Moogle, all three of your buffs at the same time. Let's go over some different options and options for the future. So haste is an option, but I don't like it right now because the fights are too short. And as a result, you don't really feel the effects of haste. Haste is kind of like one of those things that allows you to snowball as a party and allows your breaker and your attackers to store actions, and allows you to be more efficient in creating orbs for the party. But as of right now, I don't feel like haste is a good card to bring. simply, again, because the fights are just way too fast. Carbuncle falls under the same category. The fights are just too fast for Carbuncle to be efficient. I see a setup in the future of Aerith and Tifa or Moogle with Carbuncle and Tyro. That could be a very effective setup for 3 stars in the future. The barrier effect in conjunction with Carbuncle provides a very strong effect for the party. And when the panels 5 through 8 come out and the hit points of everybody raises, Carbuncle is going to be an extremely efficient healing card. And it's going to allow the party a lot more survivability. Artemis is a card that a lot of people bring. I don't like Artemis because I feel like it's the Breaker's responsibility to take care of their own buff. In the future, Artemis gets replaced with Knights of the Round on Breakers, and that's kind of like one of the cards that they bring. So the whole argument that, I can't have 2 hard orders for Artemis, I never get it, or whatever, is kind of null and void. The times that you don't have the hard ores to get Artemis are much more rare than the times that you have it available as a breaker. So as a result, unless you're in a two support party, if you are in a 2 support party, then Artemis is totally viable as an option. You can bring Artemis, Gigante, and then the other support could bring Fat Chocobo, Moogle, and then one of you guys could choose to bring Berserk and Haste as needed. And 2 support parties have a lot more flexibility with their choices than 1 support parties do. And so as a result, I don't feel like in a 1 support setup that Artemis is an option. I already covered the curse card, so I'm not going to go over that. Comet is up here. It's called Shem Hazai, or Shem Hazai, and it applies the weaken effect. And everybody calls it Comet because they don't like pronouncing Shem Hazai, and I get that. But anyways, the weaken effect is very good for helping your breaker and attackers do more damage, and helping your breakers break faster. When they have their poo-poo active, it increases their break by like 20% or something like that. It's mitigated because it gives a 50% boost, and then the poo-poo gives a 50% boost. So it's like a net result of some percentage boost to their break. Anyways, single target cards, of course, are very, very viable options for right now. I think in the future, those are probably going to go away. In the future, I could see a very good composition being Tyro, Carbuncle with Moogle, or some sort of Faith card. Tyro right now is just way too slow to be effective. The hard orb requirement is just way too high, and it kind of weighs down your setup, and it really is just not very efficient right now. But later on down the line, Tyro for the 3-star fights could come into play depending on how long those last, and how much damage those fights do. Aerith and Tifa falls under the same category. The reason I feel like Moogle is better than Aerith and Tifa is because Aerith and Tifa is kind of a mix between a snowball card and a help me now card. And as a result, it kind of takes a weird spot in support's setup. The hard orb requirement is just way too high to make it efficient. Moogle is just a much more efficient card. Plus, Moogle lasts longer, so you can cast it earlier. Aerith and Tifa, if you cast it earlier, there's a chance that it's not going to be available during the break. And since it has a 1 or a 2 turn cooldown, depending on whether or not you have it augmented, and it doesn't have 100% uptime, Moogle is just the better card for right now. In the future, when you know, slots become a little bit more tight, then Aerith and Tifa may see some play. Tyro, for that reason, it's just too slow, is the reason why I haven't augmented it yet. I have it under wait and see. Same thing with Aerith and Tifa. I have both of those cards under wait and see as far as augmentation are concerned. I want to see what other cards come out and what other cards are available before I decide to augment them. I also want to see kind of like the pace and tempo of fights going forward, as well as the survivability of jobs in 3-star fights before I decide to augment those cards. This card right here could see some play in either support or defender setups in the future. I'm not 100% on this. It's all going to depend on whether or not the boss is able to be stunned. If the boss is able to be stunned, this is a very, very good card, because the stun lasts for 2 to 4 turns, depending on whether or not it crits. And so that could be an effective card going on into the future. As of right now, it's not seeing any play whatsoever. Hecton Chair is an option, but Hecton Chair should be used on breakers, and I did not cover that in my breaker video. I apologize. Hecton Chair is an option for breakers at the moment, even though for the Ifrit fight you can't use Hecton Chair. So anyways, guys, that's kind of the support cards and everything that you have available as options right now. And that kind of covers that portion of the video. I'm going to release the second part of the video and show you some gameplay here in just a little bit. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you next video.